Hello everyone, hello, and welcome back to another one, of course. But yeah, this content is gonna be a little bit different, it's gonna be a little bit shorter than normal, and yeah, we are gonna be talking about this very vague term in Tekken, what's called mind games, right? I remember when I was first starting to understand Tekken, one of the vids I watched was Ni, the legend, one of his vids on YouTube. And I saw that he mentioned that one of the most important parts in Tekken was mind games. It was an English subtitle, but I remember vividly. And back then, I didn't understand what mind games was, what the term even, what it was in general. I just didn't understand it, and it was hard to understand it for me back then, and it was for a while. So now, I'm here trying to explain it to you guys. And this is gonna be a multi-part series, by the way. This most likely will have two more parts, most likely, right? I'll have to see. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about mind games, but I have to mention this. Mind games are very, very complicated. They're complicated. I actually had a lot of trouble trying to define them, because it's very hard to actually define, and that's why you don't really see a lot of stuff about this. But yeah, mind games can be different. Like there are different types of mind games. That's why we'll have separate parts. Today we're going to be talking about something specific, which is called string mind games, string-based mind games, basically, right? And if I want to define a mind game, as I said, it's pretty complicated. That's the best way to define it. It's just complicated. But to define a mind game is something that will make a player, like the opponent or whoever, right, make a player hesitate. Like you basically, even though objectively speaking, let's say you have a -5 or +5 frames, doesn't matter, it will make you hesitate and not use that. That's basically the best way I can define it, more or less, but I might be wrong and I might change this definition in the future, so do not quote me on this. As I said, it's complicated. But today we're going to be talking about string-based mind games. Now, what are these in general? What are these? So string-based mind games in general are strings that, doesn't matter how they start, to be fair, they're string starters in general that have finishers that are maybe slightly delayed, or they have like a delayed animation, or they just have good frames. So let me just, as I said, it's complicated, but let me actually give you guys an example, right? We have a Jin right here, helping us understand things a little bit better, because Jin's has one of a pretty iconic and pretty easy to understand mind games with a string, which is his down forward 1, right? So his down forward 1 has a mind game with a high follow, this one, right? And some of you might see players, like even pro players playing against gym players, and you might see them getting hit by this high. And some of you might question it, why is he getting hit by the high? He's a pro player, he should be ducking it, right? Why is he not ducking the high? Just duck it. So this is where the string-based mind games come in. This is one of them. Now let me try to explain this. So down forward 1, whenever it gets blocked, is -3, right? And you do want to duck the high to launch it, obviously. But ducking this is actually more complicated than it seems, because this high can come out in an instant timing like this, and can come out of the delayed timing like this, if I delay it slightly, right? So this is varied timing high, which means that if you duck it slightly and then stand up, you're still gonna block it, right? So let me just demonstrate that. The delayed timing high, if you duck it a little bit and then stand up like that, I'm still blocking it. So you have to actually commit to the duck a little bit longer to duck it, right? And not just duck and stand up. So this forces you to do that, right? This is what I would call hesitation. And either hesitation or not using the frames that you are given, right? It's kind of the same-ish. So after down forward 1, since you want to duck all the time, right? Let's say you want to duck all the time, and the gym player just does this. Let's say they do that, especially at the wall, right? This is not that scary outside of the wall, so it's not worth doing too much. But down forward 1, if they keep doing this, right? When are you gonna start ducking or stop ducking? When are you gonna press a button, or when are you gonna sidestep? Right? Because if you're just gonna stand there and duck every time, let's say you're gonna duck every time, you're gonna stay at the wall every time you block a -3 mid. So that's why people sometimes try to sidestep after a down forward 1, right? They just try to sidestep. And you might, even pro players might get caught by this, and you might see them getting caught. Like if they want to sidestep, this time he actually stepped correctly, and they get clipped like this because they trying to step outside of the wall, let's say, right? And they get clipped and they get their wall splattered. So this kind of stuff can matter a lot, because when are you gonna duck, when are you gonna not duck, let's say, when are you gonna just stand there and not do anything and keep getting pressured at the wall. This is what you would call a mind game, and that's why you might see a lot of players getting caught by highs, or in general these kind of strings. And these kind of strings are not only like mid highs, they can be mids as well, they can be even low mids as well. These are just what you would call string mind games in general. And then when the second hit is, let's say, a countered launcher, that also matters a lot. A good example of that is something like Jin's back forward 2. Now normally string mind games usually have to have good frames, right? But it also depends. Sometimes it will work even in not as many good frames. Like for example, back forward 2 is -7, but this can also enforce a mind game when if they do just this one hit, are you just gonna stand there and wait because it has second hits? Let's say it has this and this, which is also what, you know, you might duck it or not duck it. Another version but of the mind game, because it has a mid and a high. It's the same with down forward 1, because if you do duck it too much, you might get caught by this as well, right? And this just makes the mind game stronger. The more options you have as an attacker, the better the mind game strength, basically, right? So that's about these. But for a mid when the second is a countered launcher, let's say the Jin does back forward 2 and just back forward 2, right? He does not finish it. So, and you know that there's a second mid, which is this, and it's safe, right? The Jin player doesn't really risk too much doing this. It's safe. So when are you gonna actually press a button after back forward 2, or are you gonna never press a button because there's the second hit? If you never press a button, they will continue being aggressive and maybe, you know, hit you with a low or anything, right? They're just gonna continue being aggressive, maybe push you to the wall. It's gonna be scary. We're playing Tekken 8. Okay, but let's say you do press a button after the second hit because, you know, your patience is thin and you're pressing a button. That's where the Jin's second hit comes in, because the second hit can be fast like this, and it also can be delayed like this, right? And that's what creates this hesitation that I'm talking about, because I'm hesitating to press something here, and if I do, I get countered launched. So this hesitation basically makes it so it's better for you to sidestep. These mind games sometimes have some solutions that reduce risk, right? Like let's say if you sidestep block here, it's a very, very good option because the delayed one gets sidestepped and then, you know, you can just launch it. But if you sidestep, let's say you sidestep right every time you block the back forward 2, then when are you gonna stop sidestepping? When they start doing back forward 2s a little bit repeatedly, right? Like something like this. You get what I mean? You just, you know, turned around. But as I said, some options exist. Like if you sidestep right, sometimes this just gets evaded. But if you sidestep right every time, this is also the same as hesitation, but instead of just standing still, you're sidestepping, right? You are doing something. But you're still gonna get pressured if the Jin player, you know, uses this correctly. This is what you would call a mind game. The -7 situation now forces you to sidestep instead of actually use the 7 frames that you're given, right? So the 7 frames isn't actually real. This is what you would call fake frames, but these fake frames are actually something you have to respect sometimes because of these mind games that exist. So this is another example of a mid-mid. We also check the mid-high, and there can be some examples of others as well. And another example I will give is a low. And for a low, I will use, let's say, Reina as a demonstration. Some other characters also have this, but Reina has the easiest one that I can demonstrate. And some lows on hit, let's say, right? Some of them even on block have mind games. And the mind game is you have to, usually, right? The most common ones is something like Raven or Leroy. When you block the low, you have to guess a parry. Or if you block Whoring Stomp back 4, you have to guess flappy kicks, stay ducking, right? And you're somewhat guessing. It's not really a guess, it's more of a mind game. Like the differentiation I give between mind games and guesses, as I said, mind games are complicated, so do not quote me on this. I might change my mind, I might say something different in the future. But the difference is that when you press nothing, let's say you don't do anything on mind games, you don't have a low to worry about usually. It's not a mix-up on a low. It's a mix-up on a high that's usually something you don't want to block because they have good frames, or it's a mix-up on a mid that's usually safe or also has good frames, or it might be punishable as well. Who knows, right? It might be punishable, but it creates hesitation, one, and you don't really have a guess. Like, let's say you block Jin's down forward 1, and you have to guess between the high or the mid. It's not really a guess, right? Because there's no risk to you. You can just do nothing, and the high is not going to do anything, and the mid is also not going to do anything, right? You're not going to get damaged by the high or the mid. You will get damaged by a low, but there is no low there, so it's not really a guess. So that's what I would call a mind game, right? As I said, I might change the definition on this, but okay, let's talk about Reina's low. So a low mind game is something like this. Whenever you get hit by a low, right? Let's say this is -2. You can use this -2 frames that, let's say, jab, and if the Reina does jab into 1-1, not jab, the low into 1-1, I will beat it with my own 1-1, right? This is how frames work. I will beat him. But this would work every time if this low did not have any follow-ups. But this low actually has a mid follow-up, right? This follow-up right here. And the big thing about this is that, one, this is a non-jailing follow-up. What this means is that this doesn't get automatically blocked. Something like Elisa's down for 1+2 will get automatically blocked. The second hit, it jails. But this does not, because this also has a delay on it. So let me just do this into a delayed mid. Let me delay this slightly a little bit more, just so I can demonstrate the max delay. I think it can be delayed even more, but that's fine. So this gets delayed slightly, which means that if you do press, obviously, you are gonna get hit. So you cannot press here. And if you do sidestep also, you are gonna get hit. Which means that you can also, you are forced to press back and hold back. Right? If you even let go of back, you're still gonna get hit. This breaks neutral guard. Right? Breaking neutral guard basically happens whenever you get hit by a low and you're just forced to block. You have to block the second hit. This is how it works. Right? And now, the same situation when they use a 1-1, let's say I try to challenge this, I will beat him, right? I will beat the 1-1, but the moment they will try to finish this, I will actually lose here, which I don't know why the Reina is not finishing it, because I do have it set. There we go, right? This, if you do the same situation, you'll actually have a hard time checking with a 1-1 correctly without getting hit by the mid. Because the 1-1 here, if you do wait a little bit and then 1-1, let's say you wait a little bit and then 1, you are actually gonna lose. Because this is what I would call a mind game, creates hesitation, right? Because this forces you to not only not sidestep because of the follow-up, right? Because let's say I sidestep here, right? I'm gonna get hit. It's gonna be very hard for me to actually sidestep correctly and not get hit by the mid while also avoiding the 1-1. So this is what I would call a low starting mind game. And some characters have this with either follow-ups or some other stuff, right? The other stuff that also happens is more like, it's a different kind of mind game. I will explain that in the later parts as well. But yeah, this is basically it. Basically, this is it. Because I wanted to make this vid because when I was trying to understand mind games, there was really not a clear definition on it, and I still can't clearly define it. But the way I did define it previously, it's like the closest I can get to explaining it. It's the really closest I can get. But this is very important, very, very important, and this is, I did finally understand when I understood this as well, why Nee said that this is the most important aspect in Tekken. Because if everyone played by the frames, let's say -2, right, and the Kazuya player always jabbed and the Reina player never finished that string, the -2 would always be there, even though the mind games are still gonna be there even without the string finisher. As I said, different kind of mind game, but I will explain that in a different part. Even though the mind games are still going to be there, the string mind game makes it way easier for the attacker. Way, way easier. Because instead of, let's say, doing a low into a sidestep, that's a different kind of mind game, as I said, I'll explain that later. He's doing a low into a follow-up, which prevents the opponent from doing anything and makes them freeze in a 2D kind of game. Right? And the characters, almost every character has some kind of variations of this, right? This is just examples that I brought just for, you know, we can see it visually, visual examples. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful. As I said, this was a little bit shorter on the on the time, I guess. Like depending on how you see my vids are usually longer than this. So yeah, hopefully it was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, YouTube comments, that's what they're for anyway. And you can also join my stream. I stream basically every day, and you can ask me live there as well. I'll answer any question there. But yeah, once again, thanks for watching, and till next time.